I'm very honored to be here speaking about my second residency program in Cuba. You can see the exhibition about the first of this in Assam at the greenhouse now. I was inspired by the work of Creative Time during my development because I have always wanted to affect the real world with positive acts, and I think that to express human creativity is one of the keys for avoiding the destructive aspects of our consumerist society. I think that to use art as a tool to positively affect the society has always been a challenge, and that art can have the power to allow changes that are not permitted in normal life. The counterpart to this is that it's a very delicate field, because it touches upon human feelings and is considered beyond ethics. In my experience at the greenhouse, I met many so-called activists, and the majority of them were not such idealists. Many were professionals who were using the public sphere as a medium to be easily approved by the art world. My friend Alessandra introduced me to the Greek concept of parrhesia, and the idea that any act of fearless speech has to be anticipated by a honesty between your words and your actions. I'm trying to achieve this in some way, with a number of failures and frustrations along the way. About the Cuban project, I was contacted by the foundation of the coffee company Malongo to be part of a project based around the old coffee plantation that became part of the UNESCO heritage in 2000. The project, founded by European Union, aims to restore one of these old coffee farms and reactivate the traditional methods of making coffee, whilst also creating a residency for artists. I was asked to select foreign artists, and I was free to organize the residency as I wished. Normally, I encourage the artists to focus themselves on the aspect of research as the fundamental part of the work, and to consider it the crucial part of the residency. In this case, starting from a cultural heritage that primarily involved the tragedy of slavery, in order to discuss aspects of contemporary society. I selected two pairs of artists with socialist backgrounds that would have the ability to react to political situations. I thought that it was important to have individuals with a trained sensibility to this kind of environment. To them, I added Alessandra Messali, Matteo Primiterra, and Enrico Casagrande, three young artists from Venice, because my friends are the best part of me. Some questions that arose during the residency and during the previous work were: is it possible to work with someone that also has commercial interests tied to the cultural project in order that one doesn't just become an instrument of this? It is possible to work with an institution that in this case is connected to a government that is partly inflexible with regards to criticism? Are the artists prepared to act outside the framework of the recognition of art institutions and in an uncomfortable and at the time unproductive context? How to act in contexts that have practical needs and different values without creating a fake participation or a cultural violence? How to maintain the coherence between the real world and that of the media? I give the word to Gediminas Urbonas and Vuk Kosic. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. An artist as a double agent, or a work as a double agent, that is being smuggled between cultures, ideologies, and languages. We spent 4 weeks in Cuba, and I managed to survive in my Russian. The form and anti-form, debris of cultural heritage, how the work engages that debris, how it engages questions of slavery, destruction, and displacement. Arriving and working with the question how to reconstruct and what is being reconstructed, what is being restored, and what is historical reconstruction. And ultimately, these questions lead to useful art, how to help, and art util. So what language does one uses when enters the territory of translation, conflict, and change? The work itself becomes as a site, and it works with engagement of the power, and it takes over the infrastructure and the infrastructures. And the question is, in the quote marks, humanitarian project, whether it is largely mediated enterprise that is opting for popular dissemination, or how this initiative could avoid a striking resemblance to the cycles of colonization, industrialization, assimilation, exploitation. How do we build the stage set that allows performance of voices? This is what we experienced in this factory of the monuments and memorials that was built in Santiago de Cuba. So how do we design the tools for non-monumental engagement? How do we engage the civic action and protest as alternative or supplement to official commemorative or celebratory occasions? Public space today must be a moment to intervene into the possibility of constructing a new civic imagination, a new collective agency, and not only about assigning physical spaces of beautification on their own, but also the protocols, the methods, the strategies to ensure inclusion and representation, and also, obviously, in the context of new types, strategies of coexistence. In the context of artists today, all of us, at least in our case, not interested in this type of political art, but interested in the construction of the political itself. These are the notes. That we took entering this territory, this contested territory, where the site itself, the site of the factory of the monumental works, serves as a stage set that is available for the future narratives, for the future engagement, and the future of learning. Thank you.
Hello, do you hear me? You hear me? Hi, my name is Vuk and I'm an alcoholic. No, it's my name. The name next to mine is of my current wife. She's there somewhere. Hello, wife. Cuba was super intense. Cuba is intense even without us. It just got more so. Went there with a lot of beautiful expectations and romantic ideas. What we found was different. One thing that's very important and somehow pertinent to this here gathering is that Cuba is deeply racist. These are flower pots that hang around everywhere. With this from a restaurant. We spoke to our colored friends, poets, clear, nice people. How do they feel about it? They say, what about what? No, it's part of culture. Well, we never saw white heads hanging, so we might do a project like that someday, but not this time. Cuba is interesting because they have decided over there with the first republic in the late 19th century when the Spanish colonizer elite decided to separate the island from the crown, they decided to temporarily free the slaves to get the demography to fight. But then somehow it stayed like that, and when they got the republic, well, actually, it was stolen by the Americans right away, but never mind that part. They somehow said, okay, we got racial democracy, and anybody who raises the question is actually awakening the whole issue. And funnily enough, Castro repeated that same sentence in the late 50s, and so Cuba never confronted their own deep, fucked up history. And just like with, Freud, you don't have to go to shrink to understand this part. It's like with this adolescent boy that never confronts his problem. This thing typically blows in your face. I mentioned this for a banal reason. We're just about to see the end of the Castro chapter in the Cuban history. And you see, I come from the Balkans. I'm a neighbor here. And I've seen how you can create a really, solid, real good war based on very little differences between tribes, between peoples. So you don't need much. These people spoke the same language, had the same culture, same everything, and then they went out and killed each other. This is already that? No fucking way. In Cuba, it's going to be very easy to create a war if any family will need to maintain their power or win some power over. So that's my prediction for Cuba. Let's move on to the next slide, please. I failed to take my clicker. Right. My wife's stuff. We both addressed the deficits that we perceived in Cuba. She came there with a hope to see all these beautiful organoponicos, people growing fruit and vegetables everywhere. That was a fat lie. Doesn't really exist. What we encountered was people that have no attitude towards food or health or any of that. She addressed that deficit by creating a project for this French foundation where they're supposed to grow herbs and spices in this beautiful formal French garden in front of that colonial house you've seen before with Paula's slides. Oh, this is another slide of mine. Thank you. Anyway, this wife character of mine, she insists that people in Cuba should learn to grow food and vegetables, and they will. She organized a good workshop over there to create a demo. I'm not going away, man. We will talk more about that. This is my shit. I'm this, digital guy. I'm this like old school new media guy. Older people in the audience might remember me from the 90s, net art. But now I'm like Jimi Hendrix that failed to overdose. I'm bad, and I'm still here. So when I went to Jerusalem, I was supposed to feel at home, but here in Cuba as a pirate, I really felt at home. So the project that I proposed to the foundation there, come on, I'm good, was to create a digital public library. So with me, I brought a 2 terabyte disk with pretty much every book in existence, and I'm setting up a free access point to the global literature, which brings me to another project, but I won't tell you about it, and it's a really good one. Luckily, and I'm coming off stage, this was the 4 minutes we made a deal about. Oh, cool. Ask me for some time later. With this wife of mine, we have a round table tomorrow. It's just find our names there and write your names over it, and you'll get some files from me, and you'll talk to the wife about green shit, and we're great people. Talk to us, please.